Welcome back to the ESPN HOOPS HITS podcast presented by Tab and Grub. Josh Reynolds.
Hello.
Eagles fan.
Oh.
It's like, if you've been watching this show the last couple of weeks, you know we've been talking a lot about the Eagles in the lead up to this, but this is a special Super Bowl champion Eagles edition of Hoops and Hits. You must be very happy, mate. You look like you got this big cheesy grin all over your face, like a Cheshire cat.
Bit of a tear in the eye. One of our great mates once said this. It's been a long time. you know exactly
It hasn't
why.
even been that long.
I know.
And you were a part of that series, weren't you?
Oh, what a feeling, mate. And you know what? There is one day I feel you can wear. There's not many times you can wear a full kit.
Can you show the cameras the full kit too, by the way? You got the shorts, rocking the shorts.
Eagles shirt. And I've also got the Philly shorts. I don't know if you can see them, but yeah. You know, I don't care. Yes, I am a full kit. I know you know the next word, but I do not care today. I actually still cannot believe it. Still processing it.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to hear your opinion on the game from an outsider, but it just seemed too easy, didn't it?
Look, it was a bit of a train wreck for Chiefs fans, wasn't it, as we'll get into it. And we're going to break down certain sections. So we'll talk about the game itself. We'll talk about Jalen Hurts. We'll talk about Jordan Mailata. We'll talk about Siriani. But we had a nice little day at the Stain yesterday. Being a non-Eagles or Chiefs representative, sort of was able to get home around the halftime show, sort of watch the second half, able to watch it in comfort. You were able to celebrate amongst the masses at the Stain Hotel, so I appreciate the Stain Hotel having us as part of the Tab.
Great day.
Our partners here at the Tab, and it was a great afternoon, and you were able to have a few beers responsibly in celebration.
Very responsibly.
Which is nice.
Didn't. Hopefully, there's nothing. The Stain Hotel. Hopefully, I didn't carry on too much. But no, Tab always put on a good Super Bowl.
They do.
Event, don't they? Like, they're the best. We are the best. Can we say we're a part of the Tab.
Yeah, we're Tab
We're
family.
part of the Tab family. And you know, one of my highlights also was there was a hot dog eating competition.
I seen that,
and I got to walk out the champ.
Oh,
I held his belt for him.
Yeah, the budgies on and everything.
He represented Tab, so it was fun. It was a great day, mate. Even it poured down. Yeah. But the Stain and
it didn't
everyone
kill the vibes.
No, it didn't kill the vibes at all. It was just everyone tried. It just made everyone a little bit more closer.
I'll tell you what. A little side note on, and before we get to the Eagle stuff, just talking about how the Super Bowl, how popular it's got now. It's a Monday for us, Sunday PM for people in the States.
Yep.
But there's great turnouts at a lot of venues now, and it's almost, as popular for people getting out and celebrating Melbourne Cup Day for us and the horses, or it's a similar thing. It's the start of the week. You're normally supposed to be at work, but I think a few RDOs are starting to get into the workplace now with the popularity of the Super Bowl and US sports here in Australia.
And it's only going to get bigger, Hoz, because they're bringing a game here this year.
Yeah.
So how, you know what I mean, that the sport in Australia is only going to grow. I think a lot of people say, look, I don't mind it, but I don't really understand the rules. So I think the more it showed in Australia and the more, guys like gurus like yourself, NFL gurus, explaining it to people, and, it'll just grow and grow. So you're right. It's like the one thing I did love about the Stain, Eagles fans everywhere.
Yeah.
There's probably only one Chiefs guy in the overalls.
You know what? It's because Eagles in the Super Bowl, yes, for the NFL, and Eagles also win the comp in the NRL as well. All right, let's get to Manly, Seagulls. I'm feeling an Eagles 2024, 25 vibe.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, there we go.
That's for levels, mate. This is a different podcast.
All right, let's get to Left on Red. Let's kick it off with everything Super Bowl related on Left on Red. And this one comes from Twitter, and it comes from @Eagles. So is this the official Eagles account that are tweeting us out?
Yeah.
Big fans of the show too, by the way. Super Bowl champions, that one's for you. That is the Eagles. That's a generic, and that's not tweeting towards us. I just figured that out there on the run. But the Eagles demolished the Chiefs to win their second ever Super Bowl. Did you expect that level of defeat and how convincing it was so early for your Eagles against the Chiefs?
Absolutely not. I'd be lying if I said I thought it was going to be that dominant. And what was killing me at the Stain was lots of early crowing from a lot of people, and I was like, do not. I think the only time I actually felt safe was when they went up, might have been 27-0.
The first touchdown after the break, because just trying to refresh the memory now, They did sneak one in. Was it the AJ Brown crosser touchdown? That one when he went across the face?
Yes. Yeah.
That was the touchdown, wasn't it?
I just feel then you were just like, even Mahomes, the greatest Houdini escape artist of all time, I just didn't think he was up to that, especially the way he played, and we'll delve into his game a little bit later. But, Hoz, you said all year, and I was actually really happy when you said it, you thought we were the best team all round.
Yep.
But I just always felt at times, our wide receiver core were great, but then Hurts wouldn't be good. Or, our offensive line were great, but then our safeties had a bit of an off day. But yesterday was the day we fully put it together on the big stage.
Every single positional group was close to an A. Everyone played top tier. Your defensive line, for me, were the story.
They were.
I always say this, and I'm saying it all playoffs. The reason I liked you guys, because you got the scariest defensive line and offensive line, and you win playoff games and you win Super Bowls in the trenches. You got to go back to the last time we sort of seen Patty Mahomes was like this.
Yep.
Was against that really good front four for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's right.
Where they basically went out and signed a whole bunch of starters and drafted offensive linemen, trying to fix that so it didn't happen against Patty. I guess the most impressive part for your Eagles is you didn't do it against backups this time around. You got Pro Bowlers.
Yep.
You got first team All Pro there in Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney, who's a guard. They had to move to tackle. That's probably the only injury that the Chiefs had, and they exposed him heavily.
Exposed him, yep.
But it's the big boy. It's Baby Rhino through the middle. Now he didn't come up with a sack because of the game, but he causes so many headaches, and you can see the communication between the offensive line trying to figure out where Jalen Carter is, how they stop some of the stunts, allows the one-on-ones on the outside. Your Brendan Grahams of the world, your Josh Sweats, your rotational guys, everyone ate. Everyone got after Paddy, and he was spooked.
I've never seen him that spooked in my whole life. You could see it in his face.
Yep.
He had absolutely no answers, and the defensive line created so much pressure that it allowed guys like Cooper DeJean to do a job on Kelsey on third down, where Patty Mahomes, that's his safety blanket in all big games. It's the first time in a long, long time the Chiefs haven't won the big moments in big games. It is the first time I've really ever seen that. But I've just never seen Patty Mahomes like that. The thing is, the Chiefs' defense actually didn't do a bad job. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but 40 points.
You're right.
But they've done a good job on Saquon.
They were holding their own. They were holding their own.
They held their own, man.
Yep.
Saquon, I think he ran for like 58 meters or maybe 60 odd meters with 25 attempts. They were feeding him, and that's what I also loved about the Eagles game. The style we played, they obviously loaded the box to hold Saquon, but we still stuck to it. We were grinding, and then even when Hurts had an opportunity, he took it when he needed to.
Yeah.
And that is one guy I'm so happy for, proud of, because he deserves the raps now.
He does.
He's got a ring. What more can people say around this?
We talked about this before, and you were so excited that you tweeted in yourself for the show. Josh Reynolds, 24, on Twitter. The most underrated, underappreciated quarterback in the entire NFL showed up yet again on the biggest stage possible. Got to remember, too, he played really well in the Super Bowl, lost a couple of years as well. Jalen Hurts is a superstar. He's a winner. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a Super Bowl MVP. Give this man his damn flowers. Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl MVP. And you're right. The Spagnola for the Chiefs, game plan was force Jalen Hurts to win the game. Stop Saquon. And if Jalen Hurts comes up with big enough plays, one-on-ones to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, then so be it. And they were always going to live by that, and they did live by it. And the Chiefs did a pretty good job. But A.J. Brown, along with Devontae Smith, come up with some really big catches in big moments. Jalen Hurts put him in a great position to win that game. Yep. And then you're right. He's a dual threat, and the threat of him faking the handoff on the RPOs and taking it himself, it felt like he had, 4 or 5 10-yard runs throughout the game.
Yep.
He was so good, and he deserves his flowers. He's super underrated, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He is gradually going up my rankings. I always thought he was a top 10 quarterback, but he is on... let's go through. Where's our top 5? And I'm not overreacting on Paddy. He had a really bad Super Bowl.
He's still number 1.
But he's still number 1.
Easy still number 1. The one thing, just before we go into our top 5, the one thing I loved about the Eagles' play calls yesterday and Jalen Hurts was we were gutsy. Fourth down, we were short a few times. We're going over the top because we backed our ability. Like I couldn't believe those play calls.
Especially after the first pass interference
got done.
And that got done. That was a terrible call.
Could have got spooked.
Could have got spooked from that.
That is never called in the season.
No way.
A little face push? Come on, man.
There wasn't much in it at all. And
he
that
was in a perfect position too, that ref.
They're going to get involved in a game like this. And then in the end, I thought you got some pretty favourable calls by the end of it. But
yeah, I agree.
We did. Not that you needed it. You were the most dominant team regardless.
I was just proud of how gutsy we were. And like you said, Hurts got shown some lanes and he took them. There's a couple of times during the season where you can tell he's in that half and he doesn't take it. You got to take those lanes straight away. I feel if you give him a second look to throw, they close up. And he just took it and went and he saved us a few times. We actually got on the back of him. But yeah, like for me personally, I'd go Mahomes, Lamar. I go Burrow. Allen.
So that's the top
Hurts.
4 for depending on where you sit them. And I'm with you. I think in big games, big moments, and I always say this, I think the lack of ego or the fact that he doesn't have an ego enough where he has to come up with these sorts of games all the time and happy to hand it off to Saquon and win in that way, I think that's a super underrated quality about Jalen Hurts.
Sorry, you keep going, yeah?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much
I was just going to say, who's like competing? Because I do you feel Hurts is 5 now? Would you keep it at 5? Like, who's your possibles around the 5?
Well, I think I'd have him over pretty much anyone in the NFC. All the big dogs are in the AFC.
So there's but even I think Daniels,
Daniels is going to be thereabouts.
He's going to be thereabouts
for sure
for the NFC. Yeah. I think Baker.
Matt Stafford is still an elite quarterback.
Agreed.
Who can make
Stafford.
all the throws. But yeah,
Tua?
Jalen, I think it's I wouldn't have Tua. I think Tua's fringe top 10. Maybe 10 to 15 range. I think it's going to be battling out between Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels for the NFC top dog, and therefore, if either of those two can be long-term top 5 options. All right, let's get onto Instagram and discuss Bankstown's own, very own, Jordan Mailata. This one comes from Instagram and it comes from Christy Russ. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Jordan is so wonderful with his time for our Aussie boys and a great ambassador for Australia and the sport. Congrats to Jordan. What an amazing achievement. Mailata makes history. Is this one of the best stories in the NFL ever? Like this program, to where this is, I guess the opportunities that this is going to open up for not only Australian kids in general, Pacific Islander, Polynesian, young Polynesian kids are going to be targeted for sure. And there are a lot of big Pacific Islander, Polynesian kids around here in Sydney, Western Sydney. And Jordan has just proved that you can get it done on the biggest stage if you're disciplined, you're detailed, you work hard, and in a very short amount of time is able to have so much success. Second NFL Super Bowl, and he's a Super Bowl champ, second team All-Pro.
Well, if it wasn't already on the map, Bankstown sure is right now. It sure is.
You put it on the map, and he's carrying on the tradition.
I think I nearly got to take it off the map. But he is, I actually see it. It was amazing, isn't it? Today's show this morning I was watching, and his old PE teacher from Bankstown High was on there. I just love that. But it's just he was, and he's like.
Has he replaced you with the mayor of Bankstown now?
Yeah, easy.
Are you happy to pass on the crown to him? Is he the king?
What can I be? What's next?
The Joker.
Yeah. The street sweeper, which is also, everyone's got to do that. But nah, mate, you know what it is too, Holz? It's just a great story of perseverance and, not kicking the toys out of the cot when you don't get what you want. Because his first dream was NRL. He wanted to be an NRL player. And, man, that's heartbreaking for any kid.
You're right. That's a good point.
And it really is, man. But just any kid out there, hard work, perseverance, and knowing how to deal with adversity at a young age, he's the perfect example of that, mate. And he should be, I really hope he comes back and maybe tells his story a bit to a couple of, like you said, people in that same, Polynesian background. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you haven't got a big motor or you haven't, because, there's going to be people from the NFL knocking for guys like Geordie right now, and he can explain to them, I took a hit, but
Imagine how intimidating that Pathways program would have been.
Oh,
like
man.
it's cool to say now, in hindsight, looking at him as a Super Bowl champion, he's got all that information. He moves to 21 years old. Great point about, wanting to be a rugby league player, wanted to play NRL. That opportunity, even though it might have come at a later time, that gets, another opportunity arises to go through this pathway program. I imagine he moved away from his family, which is huge for the Polynesian community as well. I know playing with a lot of Polynesian and Pacific Island players, very family orientated. They used to get homesick if they were not in the same state, let alone the same country. So for him to go over there, excel, and again, loving the game like we do, Grub, and understanding the playbook and all the information that he, out of nowhere, would have just been the size of this. This book here, go learn. And that's a game. That's just the Kansas City Chiefs game. By the way, we've got another book for when we play the Packers.
Yep.
Like the amount of information that he's had to absorb in a short amount of time, he's clearly very intellectual.
Yep.
A very smart kid, and I can't speak highly enough what he's been able to achieve.
He's it's just like, it's quite unbelievable, horror as well. You would know, you would have felt this when you go over to another country, to another sport. Like I felt this when I was in England. It's a bit of like, don't get me wrong, like I got on really good with a lot of my teammates over there, but it's a bit of, that you're coming over there to take their spot, some of them, and there's that bit of like, bit of tension.
Yeah.
So it would have been hard for him to go there. And these guys have been playing American football since they were 5 years old. Geordie started playing when he was
21.
So, man, imagine learning all those moves and all that. Like it's
technique.
It's unbelievable. Like what he's done. It's actually it is an amazing story, and it's just it is awesome. And we speak about Saquon, unbelievable season, but who opened up those gaps for him this year?
The big fella.
He did.
The big fella was.
Saquon should be buying him a car, man.
He will. Well,
something.
Saquon is for sure going to look after the big fella, and I think another great representation about how far he's come. Wearing the captain and walking the teams out with the captains at the start of the game.
Unreal.
Jalen Hurts, Saquon, and I think it was Brendan Graham.
Wow.
That is to show in a short amount of time, he has not only had an impact physically and at the position, but as a leader in the locker room in 3 or 4 years. Last thing before we move off, Jordan, and we'll start talking about.
Yep.
Actually, this is a good time to bring out the Grub or no Grub because we're going to talk about Siriani. But before we get to Siriani,
oh, here we go.
Jordan, South Sydney Rabbitohs have jumped on a little bit late. And they're jumping on the Jordan Mailata bandwagon. They brushed him in the under-20s. Grub or no Grub from South Sydney?
Hold on. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, they're claiming him.
Big Geordie, under-20s legend now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Was it as loud before or are they jumping on now? Are they bandwagon?
That is a typical...
Are they bandwagon Eagles
That's a typical South act. It's all about... Come on, mate. Yes, that is to the borough. Are they serious? They got rid of him. Well, now they're claiming him. I think the Dogs, we can claim him. Bankstown, that's probably the closest.
I think
he did. He played for St. John's Eagles with Sauce.
He did.
There you go.
He did. He's a very proud Bankstown boy.
There you go.
I don't think he's as proud about the Bunnies. But Trell Mitt and the boys are claiming him regardless. All right, let's keep that Grub up because, like I said, we're talking about Siriani.
Oh, wow.
Nick Siriani, this is his record. 48-20 all time. This is through the first 4 seasons, by the way. That's second all time for the best record during that period. He is 6-3 in playoffs. He is the 2-time NFC East champion, which is very hard to do. It's been very competitive in the NFC East and been sort of going back and forth for many years. 2-time NFC champion because he did play against the Kansas City Chiefs 2 years ago. And now he is the Super Bowl champion. He was laughed at the Super Bowl as a Super Bowl champion, but I think it's time to give him his flowers.
Well, are you going to give him some, or it's you? It's not. You're very anti.
I like Howie, your GM, more than I like Siriani.
Do you think? So I had a good think about this. Do you think it's because of Siriani's got a bit of arrogance about him?
Yes.
He's got that. But you just said his coaching credentials.
You cannot deny that.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
When you think about it, he should be spoken about with the really up there coaches. I know he's young, and I know you're really big on longevity.
I'd love to see 10 seasons.
10 seasons like that. But if he does have these different sort of arrogance and sort of half swagger about him. I think that's why people don't like him. I really do. I also, it's like that. It's like you remember Mundine?
Yes.
It's sort of like that. I think he does it on purpose.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care.
Okay.
And Mundine used to literally do it. People would half watch Mundine to get knocked out.
Tactically distracting people from what actually is important.
And that's what a good coach does.
Okay. If that is the case,
Takes the heat away from his players.
I appreciate the tactics.
Yeah.
And you know what? At the core of it, he could be a decent guy. I just think I'm not totally sold that even the playing group love him as much as you'd think. I still think there is tension, and despite Siriani, because I think your roster is so good, for sure he did a great job galvanizing them at the end. But there was even still comments all the way leading into it about Jalen Hurts and asking questions about that's what people wanted to see, and he let the straight jacket off me, and all those little subliminal messages still makes me think that there is brotherly love amongst everyone in that Eagles locker room. I still think there's a little bit of a
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
With the players for sure, because there's always, I feel that's the thing with this Philly team. Like, I obviously love them, but we're a weird team. Like there's always something going on. There is. I feel there's a fair few egos, and you got to think as well. But let's flip it and say, well, maybe Sirianni's good. He has to deal with these egos.
Yeah, true.
He has to deal with them.
Yep,
this is not an easy job, So I also just think it is not. It's hard to have an opinion about someone when you don't know. Okay, so
agreed.
Perfect
You're not inside the
example
locker room.
is Des.
Yep.
Des Hasler for me.
Yep.
Des Hasler to the media, people would be like, what is wrong with this bloke? And the media would pretty much, hate's a strong word, but dislike him because he'd give him nothing.
Yep.
Be straight down the barrel. But then,
especially in those early Eagles into your Bulldogs years.
Exactly. When a bit of stuff happened and he's probably
us against the world
a bit
mentality.
Off. Yeah.
That's the way he plays
literally.
it.
But to us, we had all those inside jokes.
Yeah.
We literally did. And it's funny, he'd be into me about my defense all the time. And whenever if I'd ever get a man of the match or whatever, I'd always say something like, but 68% or 78% wrestle, won that today. As a bit of a joke, I don't know. I just think that could be the case with Sirianni,
All
maybe.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example. When if that is the case, then he's played it well.
Yeah.
And like I said, you cannot argue with those first 4 seasons. I'd love to revisit it on Hoops and Hits in the next. We'll be doing this for the next 5-10 years.
Easy.
So we'll be talking Sirianni moving forward for sure. All right, let's move over to the Chiefs. And I guess the question that everyone's been raising, or the 2 main questions are: is the dynasty officially over? Can you envision a world where we don't see the Chiefs playing consistent playoff football? And Patty Mahomes, but this one comes from thy only boss man. Chiefs dynasty is finally over. And the next one from Savage Sports is: there is only one GOAT. Don't ever compare Mahomes to Brady again. So Chiefs, is the dynasty over? And are we, for sure it was a bad game from Patty. Do we think this is the end of Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs dynasty moving forward?
I just want to ask you something first.
Yep.
We're definitely calling it a dynasty.
I'm happy with dynasty.
Yeah?
I think they made the AFC Championship game every year he was there, 6 years in a row. As you know.
Yep.
That's like basically making
asking.
the preliminary final and winning 3 Super Bowls. I'm happy for dynasty.
So because they were in 5 Super Bowls in 6 years or something. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 3.
3 of them.
Yeah.
He's got a 3-2 record in Super Bowls now.
3 and 2. Yeah.
4-1 would have looked nice.
See, that's where I'm saying dynasty.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still saying semi-dynasty. Is that a thing? But no. I'm just, I don't know. It's a big.
No, I don't think that's a thing. You're saying that they're not a dynasty, and that's fair. I think I think it's a 50-50 split. I'm going to say dynasty.
I think the
because
Penrith Panthers are a dynasty.
3 in a row. You think they needed the 3 in a row?
Well, I think to be a dynasty, you got to do something that no one's done before.
And they would, if they'd done that, would have been the first of the. Yep.
That's my argument.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
And I just think I do think it is.
Do you think their success in the playoffs is going to continue still though? That's my question then.
I think they'll struggle.
Do you think they'll fall off?
Unless I think I really think they need to get an out and out running back.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt was good.
Yep.
I think he was really, really good for him, but they need to get a running back. Travis Kelce, football is over. It is. I'm telling you, he did not look like the same guy yesterday. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, they can't play that style of footy anymore.
Well, you know what? And probably Travis Kelce's numbers were down across the board all season. So it's not as crazy to have a strong opinion on Kelce as it is Mahomes. I still think Mahomes is going to be there. He's still going to be competitive. They've still got an offensive line that looked really bad in that game, but they'll figure out a way. They're definitely going to go on the market and try to figure out the tackle position after that game. And one big player, I know they had some nice performances. Xavier Worthy ends up getting 100-plus yards because of a couple of meaningless touchdowns and all that. But Rashee Rice was their guy, and he was looking really good at the start of the season before he went down. So I'm not completely ruling them out. I still think they're going to be the team to beat in the AFC West.
Yeah.
Therefore, in the AFC West in their division.
Yep.
So therefore, giving yourself good seeding position and being thereabouts. Andy's still going to be Andy Reid. Steve Spagnuolo is going to figure out a way to, I guess, game plan better against dual threat running backs, quarterbacks after that performance. And Patty Mahomes, I think it was fair to, and it still is fair to compare Patty Mahomes to Tom Brady at this point of their career. And that's what the comparisons were.
Yeah.
I was never comparing Patty Mahomes to Tom Brady as the GOAT. I was talking about their resumes. Now it's had a dent on it.
Yeah.
But Patty Mahomes has still got 10 years left.
I hate comparisons sometimes.
No.
I really dislike
Especially
them.
when they're that far apart.
You just
Super
can't.
Bowls and games and years and passing records. Patty still has 10 years left.
Easy.
But the trajectory was on path.
Oh, for sure.
And now it's
No doubt.
And now it's hit a massive speed hump.
I'm going to say I've never seen Tom Brady perform that poor in a big game as Patty did yesterday.
Yep. And
Never.
it's twice now. Tampa Bay one, he looked really poor as well.
He looked like a ghost yesterday. He was, he was chewing his mouth guard, and you could just sort of see. Obviously, they have all the greatest of camera angles, and they pretty much get right in your face. But yeah, he was a defeated man yesterday, and I don't think I've ever seen that from Tom.
He is no, they never lost in that sort of fashion in the Super Bowl. The 3 losses that he had against your Eagles and Nick Foles, and even against the Giants, were really close. So he never really got blown out in that fashion. He did look defeated, but he is a 3-time Super Bowl champion.
Oh, I've never taken that away.
So there's no way I'm ruling anything out with Patty Mahomes.
You know, one thing as well, I think with Hoz, I just realised yesterday that they might need to look into Kansas Chiefs secondary. I think they need to add a little bit of speed to it because they get done over the top a fair bit. They did all year. I think we exposed that yesterday.
Yeah, the one.
So they might add a bit of speed to their secondary.
I thought, there's a lot to delve into. Chris Jones was also their big interior defensive tackle. Once he got injured at the start of the third quarter and couldn't go, that was sort of the end of them.
Well, just one more thing. Speaking about the Chiefs and them in big games, there was a drop yesterday. I forget when it was. I forget who it was. But it was a simple catch.
Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins early on for the first down.
You just knew they were off.
Yeah.
That could have changed it.
It wasn't the best pass from Mahomes. And I remember listening to the commentary and everyone was talking about Patty Mahomes missing, and he was spooked. And for sure, he puts that out in front of Hopkins. Hopkins could have taken that to the house too, but he dropped it. Hopkins come up with some big plays at the end of the game too. But yeah, that was a huge drop in the context of the game. Yeah, really. Any sort of momentum that they were trying to build was just crippled when that happened. All right, let's move on to the UFC. That was also on Sunday, our time, before the Super Bowl. And I was actually there and got to watch this live, seeing the interactions all day, all afternoon by Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. This one comes from Instagram, and it comes from A-Serves39, Sharma at the top of his game and UFC trying to help Izzy. So the quote there is, let's train together. Let's make that partnership happen. I have a lot to show you, and you have a lot to show me. Pereira is sort of offering Izzy a lifeline here. Lifeline. I see it in a different way.
What do you got?
I feel like off the back of not being on this card, fighting over on a non-pay-per-view card the week before, I think they had a Hall of Fame induction with his fight with Kelvin Gastelum. I think Izzy's ending this is a slow sort of burn to the end of Izzy's career, and I think he might be now the way he's interacting with all these opponents that he's had in the past in Pereira and doing the podcast and stream with Whitaker. I think Izzy knows his time might be up. I feel like we might have seen the best of his riders.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Like it happens to everyone.
Happens there. He's 35, 36.
Time gets everyone.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Father time's undefeated.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's definitely a way of thinking about it. It is rare for, well, it'd be hard for me to go into training with someone or with, I don't know, you see like fighters and that joining up, I suppose, like Khabib and that do it now, but they never really fought each other.
Yeah, no, not when you're in, for sure, not when you're in the mentality of trying to win the belt. And look, there are, they've had to drop weight to get in the same divisions before, but they have fought. I think if he's thinking about doing this sort of stuff, he's looking at it as more as like passing on information, and he's less concerned about being champion again, in my opinion.
No,
that's the feeling I get from this.
I agree. I'm with you. I definitely think, unfortunately, it's probably the not the last, but the best we've seen of Izzy. But what do you think about the Strickland fight? Boring fight, man.
It sort of went to as scripted. Strickland looked a little bit hesitant to, he's Duplessis controlled it for the most part, and Strickland was waiting for his moment that never arrived. He never got it. Like he's a weird fighter, Duplessis. To watch him live,
he looks awkward.
He's awkward. He, he's relentless. It doesn't all look all that flush. It's not the most prettiest fight to see live, but it's effective.
Bulldog.
He's a bulldog. He keeps the pressure up, and it must be frustrating because you've seen Whittaker and Adesanya say it, and even Strickland said it after. He's like, man, we talked some crap before, but he goes, you're a hell of a fighter, and you've got a lot of respect for you, and I think he's going to be very hard to beat in that division for a while. He's in a sweet spot, and it feels like everyone who fights him is confused after it, which is a great sign for.
Yeah. That's a great comment. Everyone's like, I feel a lot of people go into this thinking they can 100% beat him.
Yeah.
When like everyone says I can win, but you've still got that. It's like saying,
you convince yourself.
When you're in your prime, you think you beat it, but you still got the doubts. But I actually think people actually think, no, I'm going to beat this guy in Strickland, and I'm glad Strickland's gone. I'm sick of him. In Australia, he's carried on. A couple of those interviews, well, mate, if you don't like it, get out. And did you actually hear the comments about Dana said about the Aussie
media?
What do you think? There's a bit of something in this at the moment, because it's happened in the tennis recently too, where a few of the players have said like the Aussie media have got no respect and stuff. Do you think we muck around too much, like as Aussies, or is it they don't know how to take the way we do it, or do you think there's some merit in it?
I think there's a portion of the media, there's a fraction of the media, and it's more mainstream, and it's very political. It can get very political with media. So depending on, when we're doing things like this in podcasts, we just basically call it as we see it. Now, there are always going to be agendas. It's the way media has always been at the highest level. So based on who you report for, that's where it all gets messy. And I'm not across everything, but I think that's what Dana's alluding to. Yeah. And that's always going to exist. It's the way the media, the main media, mainstream media landscape works. But let's get to the stalemate. And this was huge news at the start of last week. We covered so much of it. But it's official now. We've seen the Dallas Mavericks play. We've seen the LA Lakers play. Unfortunately, AD goes down in his first game, but he was balling at the start of that game. But let's stay on the Lakers. Luka plays today. Really good win against the Jazz. And they had a trade that was rescinded too, by the way, with Mark Williams coming over from the Hornets. So that's an awkward moment for Dalton Connect, which we'll get to in a bit.
Awkward.
But Facebook, this one comes from Miguel Rojo. If LeBron and Luka coexist and bring their A game, there's a chance. And the next one from Facebook, doubt it. Think they went backwards for this season. Getting Luka was a long-term play for life after James. I agree with parts of that from Ryan, but not all of it. I don't think they went backwards. I just don't think they're built as strong without the acquisition of the guy I mentioned. I think when you lose AD, they needed to improve that position.
Yep.
They needed to send a power forward guy. And Williams, I think, had a high ceiling. And I'm so surprised that sort of fell through with the medical. If that had gone through, I liked the Lakers to be competitive and really take it to both Houston and Oklahoma City.
Yep.
But I think now they're clear-cut third, fourth best team behind them without the Williams trade.
I agree with Ryan. I don't know if backwards is the word, but I just think they've just gone all-out attack, obviously. Like the Lakers now are just an attacking side. And as you said, I think they need... AD was their defender, and they've lost him now, but they needed to replace him.
Maybe they need some presence, don't they?
Maybe not to hit AD's, as someone as good as AD, but they need someone. They need someone in the paint with a bit of presence. So, NBA's obviously it is a very attacking style of game, but at the same time, you got to D up.
Yep.
You see, OKC in Houston now, they're great defensive teams. Unbelievable. That's why they win a lot of their games.
Yeah.
So I just think for me, even though it is LeBron game and Luka, two amazing players, I just don't know defensively in big games if they can do it.
They're going to be fun to watch. There's going to be some showtime. There's going to be some high-scoring games. They're going to beat some really good teams, but they're also, because I agree with a bit of what you're saying there defensively, I think, guys, sort of backup players like Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura might have to play the big at times as well because they don't have an out-and-out big man moving forward of note. And, that could be the problem for them this year.
Yep.
And they'll look to address that next year. I still think there's a little window for Luka and LeBron to do something special.
What else do they need?
Minus
the big man.
That's it. Everything else is sweet.
You're happy with everywhere else?
Yep.
You think
they've got shooters there. They've got guys that can score. Even Austin Reeves went off for 45 the other day without Luka and LeBron playing.
He's a baller, eh?
Oh, he's nice.
He's good, man.
He's a nice player.
Yeah.
So, they've got some options there, and I think they'll be in the market for a big man. Now they missed out on Williams.
Anyone around that can at the top of your head, mate?
The trade period's done now. They won't be able to get anything until next year. Yep. So nothing to improve the team this year unless something crazy happens and someone's released. So no, I don't think it can be done this year. But LeBron's maybe got a year or two left now. I think Luka will extend him a year or so maybe they can get something out of the big fella next year. All right, let's get to the Pick-6 presented by Tab. And Cynthia, she had a great year. She goes 4 from 6 in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, somehow, with all that scoring, Saquon didn't score a touchdown, and Dallas got it. He gets a reception early for about 20 yards, and you think he's going to have a day out. Because they were so dominant, didn't have to pass as much, so he didn't get the receptions as well. But, gee, what a year from Cynthia. Let's try something different for Pick-6.
Yep.
Let's have 6 way too early predictions for NFL futures next year. Now, we've got the markets up for the 2026 Super Bowl.
Way too early, bro.
And look, this is before free agency. This is before the draft, so there's many factors that can come in. I know currently right now your Philadelphia Eagles are favourites.
As we should be.
As you should be. So can we lock in the Philadelphia Eagles for one of your teams?
Definitely. I'm very, very confident.
You're going to give us 3 teams. I'm going to give 3 teams.
All right. So I'm going to go, obviously, Philly.
Yep.
I'm going to go away too early. I think the Bengals will bounce back.
Ooh.
Cincinnati. I really
Even
do.
with all the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins drama?
If Chase stays,
yep,
they'll be fine. I just think they're too good a team not to. Like, they caught fire late.
Yep.
Obviously, their defense. They got to work on their defense, though. They need to pick up, someone possibly in the draft. And if they do work on that, they'll be fine. And I also, this is way too early, but I'm going to say the Denver Broncos.
Ooh, I like that.
I like Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I really like him. I love Denver's defense.
Yep.
And I just think Bo Nix is going to be a guy that we're going to be speaking about a lot next year.
Okay, I like that pick. I'm going to go nice and simple. You've left me 3 teams, so I'm going to go the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're going to be thereabouts. It's very hard to not pick the Ravens and Bills. I've obviously got to go my Packers.
Yep.
We lost in the first playoff game, but we weren't disgraced against your Eagles.
No.
We had 2 really good games against your Eagles, which tells me we've got a young ascending team and we're not too far away.
I don't know about your Packers, mate. That's a very hearty. He's had some major problems lately.
Easy, all right. I'll give you a lot of Eagles stuff the last couple of weeks.
Actually, talking about our Eagles stuff.
Yeah.
Why am I flicking through Instagram just before the show? You've already changed.
The Super Bowl's over, mate. You think with all the success you've had in the Super Bowl win, you care about my Instagram DP?
You should be proud now. I'd be jumping on the bandwagon.
As soon as he took to the pick to the house, I removed it. I said the Eagles are home. Remember, for free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
All right, Grub, that's it for this week. Congratulations again, mate. Super Bowl champions. NFL still continues. We have free agency. We have the draft. We have storylines all over. But there's going to be a lot of NBA coming up, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. There's always something going on, isn't there? There'll be something that surprises us. But we'll be talking about the NFL the whole time. It'll creep up. Creeps up fast, just like the NRL season's starting in 2 weeks now.
Next week we'll creep up on you. We'll see you then.
There you go.